guys, it's another Sunday. Welcome back to Tribe of Unicorns. Today I'm speaking with Sandra Chaney. She is a motivational speaker and empowerment coach. She works with a lot of nonprofits, and her experience is with a lot of people who have overcome domestic violence and trauma in that area, because she shares her story of getting through those different challenges in her own life. It's a beautiful story of overcoming things that sometimes people don't overcome, and instead of going down a road of victimization, she really empowered herself and changed her life and used it as a way to help others and gave purpose to her trauma. So grab a cup of coffee and let's go. Hey guys, welcome back to Tribe of Unicorns. I'm your host, Kendra Beavis, and today I'm sitting with Sandra Chaney. How are you?
I'm excellent. How are you?
I'm doing good. It's a kind of dreary day in New York, but it's warm. So I'm excited to use my spring jacket.
Oh, you're in New York. That's cool.
I am. Where are you?
I'm in Maryland, but I'm a New Yorker, born and raised.
Where from?
Yeah. Brooklyn.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Yes.
So we're both New Yorkers. Awesome.
Yes.
So can you tell us a little bit about what you do?
So I am a certified empowerment coach and motivational speaker. I am also a nonprofit and grant strategist. And people go, well, what is that? I help nonprofits build and fund so that they are able to serve their community in the best way that they can.
And how did you come to find these little niches in the universe?
You know, I always say these things found me, to be quite honest, because I really didn't know what I wanted to do. I think my childhood to adulthood, a lot of things happened to me in my childhood. So I am a thriver of, and I say thriver, of domestic violence, sexual assault, and homelessness, because that was my experience growing up. And they always say a girl marries her father. Mm-hmm. And my dad, was emotionally, verbally abusive. And well, I love him, yes, but he had his own trials, but this is what I knew growing up. And I left New York and actually ended up in DC through my family because they wanted to get me out of New York. I ended up starting in corporate America after a while. And corporate America was to pay the bills. Let's just be honest. But it was not my passion. And I really didn't know what I wanted to do until a friend of mine recommended that I work at a shelter just to give back. I think we all should give back in some kind of way. And the shelter I ended up working at that she sent me to was for battered women and their children. Well, I didn't know that I dealt with them. I didn't know that that was my experience, because I thought that when people argue, yell, scream, that was the norm. So I didn't know that that was not normal. That is not what they call normal love. And so I ended up seeing that their story was my story. And I ended up actually finding my passion in that and wanting to help myself through helping these other women heal. And that's really how I got into working with women and children, and also working in the nonprofit world.
Wow. That must have been quite a moment to see yourself in their shoes. What was that like for you?
I think I was stunned. I want to say really maybe in denial a little bit, because again, this is what my story was. And I honestly did not know that this is what I had been living. And the fact that I married someone who was like my dad.
Yeah.
And what's funny about that is my dad did not come to the wedding because he said that guy wasn't good enough for me. And I thought that was hilarious to me. Later on down the road, I'm going, well, wait a minute, this was you. And then I realized that my father wanted the best for me, which is how I knew that he understood that something wasn't right.
Right.
And so to see these women living in a shelter and with their children, on some level spoke to me, because I'm going, well, one, I didn't know that they had shelters like that. Two, I am a parent myself. And so what am I teaching my son?
Right.
What am I showing him about what life should be like and what love really is? So it really put me in a tailspin, because not only am I now working in the shelter, they're putting me in speakers bureaus because they want me to learn how to speak. They want me to share my story in the community. And so now I'm not having panic attacks. I'm kind of like, is this where I'm supposed to be now? You want me to do what? Go speak and share my story? These people don't know me and I don't know them. So I did it, but I did it afraid.
Right.
Because again, corporate America was not where I wanted to be anymore. And I was really searching for something that was going to bring me passion and fulfill me.
Did you know that first time you spoke that, oh, this is it? This is what I want to do. I want to help people and I want to speak.
I did, because my first assignment was to a group of women in a halfway house. Oh, that's where they sent me to speak. And I'm coming. So I'm still at corporate America, by the way. So I'm still coming. I'm coming from my corporate America job dressed in my tailored suit, because the job that I had, we had to wear suits and we had to be tailored because of the position that I held. And I'm coming from there to this halfway house with women, of course, who are looking at me going, what in the world is she going to tell me? And how can she relate to, you know what I'm saying? It's like,
oh, sure.
And so I had to share my story. And part of my when included me talking about, an overnight stint in jail, because I did experience that when I was 17. And sharing that and how I got there and sharing my story around domestic violence, you could feel the walls coming down. I could see the light bulb going off. And I said, oh, this is what I was meant to do. Like, I could feel that my story had impact and that it was really helping the women. And what I didn't realize was that this was going to be a 6-week thing, a 6-week talk with. So every week for 6 weeks, I was to come here and talk with the women and share with them about how to change their life using my story.
What kind of revelations did you see them have, and what kind of progress were they able to make after hearing your story?
So for one thing, revelations that this wasn't their fault, because a lot of them that were there, they were victims of domestic violence, but they did things out of love for their partners. And of course, their partners were out somewhere, and they're the ones, of course, who ended up going to jail, and they were all women. And they did things out of love, but the revelation for them was that, first of all, it wasn't their fault. Secondly, that this wasn't love, that the things that they experienced was that wasn't love, and they deserve better.
Right.
Honestly. And those were the things that I saw. The changes that I think I saw towards the end were some of them wanted to share their stories and wanted to go out and speak and wanted to volunteer their time and wanted to do better and really give back to the community, because they recognize that, first of all, domestic violence isn't just a one person thing. It's a community thing. We all have a part to play in terms of how we view women, how we see things, how we're treated, and how we treat ourselves. And so they wanted to give back. So several of them wanted to know, how could they volunteer? How could they give back? And they wanted to do different things job-wise. And they were looking at different possibilities of things that would make them happy. So it was a good experience for me to see that as my first outing, as my first, I guess, way of getting away from corporate America. And my first realization that this is what I was meant to do, even though my story to me was painful, but I saw that my story wasn't just for me.
Right.
That what I went through was also to help somebody else.
Yeah. You kind of gave it a purpose if you
Yes.
had to. Where did you take it from there?
I ended up, they ended up hiring me at the shelter. I ended up quitting the corporate America job. I ended up working in that shelter for about 2 or 3 years. And then I left and just became a full-time entrepreneur. And that was 2003. I became a full-time entrepreneur. And funny enough, they became my first client. The shelter that I worked in became, how funny. But I don't want to make it sound as easy as it is, because the
Right.
truth be told, I was fearful to step away from a job that was paying me every 2 weeks, knowing that my bills and things were going to be paid. But I had this knowing on the inside that there was something greater and that there was something I needed to do, and that entrepreneurship was my path, that the only way for me to do what I needed to do was to do this full time. And I am one who I listen within. I don't always listen well all the time, but I don't, but I listen within, and I could just hear like a small, still voice telling me that this is what I needed to do. And so my response back to God was, well, if this is what I'm supposed to do, you're going to have to make it plain for me, because I'm leaving a job. Right. And by the way, I just got married. I got married in May. I'm getting ready to leave a job in November. And I'll have to tell my husband, I'm going into full-time entrepreneur. Okay, let's make this plain for him too. And so I got the idea or the strategy to ask the current ED, as a director, to say, hey, I'm going to quit, but I have a proposal for you. I gave her the proposal of them becoming my first client, because I knew that they were going to have to hire somebody to do what I did.
Yeah.
So why not hire me? Right. Why not let me do it? You don't have to pay me benefits or anything, which is going to cost you less. So I wrote a whole proposal outlining that, and they accepted. And they became my first client. And that's how I got started.
Okay. So many people would have just stayed in that position and not listened to that little voice. I love that you not only listened to it, but came up with a plan on how you were going to do it. And you knew you had the clarity and understanding, okay, all these people need to be on board, and this is what I need to have to make this work. And the faith too,
Yes. Faith is huge. If you're going to be a full-time entrepreneur, faith is huge.
Yeah.
Because you have to believe in something that you fully can't see yet, but you know that it's going to happen if you just listen to the voice that's guiding you. If you just listen to that spirit within, and it doesn't mean that you're not going to fall, because you are, because I have. However, every single time I listen to the voice, something happened. So the second contract I got was, again, that same year, with an organization that the shelter I worked with, we had partnered with them in a grant to do work. Well, when they found out I was leaving, they wanted me to head up there. So I had 2 contracts, and they both were partners in this grant. I was doing something for the shelter, but then I also was doing something for them. And it all happened in that 1 year because I applied and they accepted.
Well, it's like that thing, like, maybe you were afraid, but you did it anyway.
Yes,
Love
I did it. I did it anyway, because I knew that I felt like I was led to do this. Like, the only way to do full time what I wanted to do is I had to walk away. And I'm not encouraging people to walk away from their job, because you have to know that you know that you know. Right. But if you're going to do it, you do. Because some people, and when you feel it, just do it. But do it knowing that there's a strategy and a plan in place. Because there always is. There really, really is. And for me, that was my first lesson in walking by faith, really, is that, because I've had ups and downs on this journey, but I wouldn't trade it. Because to go back to a 9-to-5 for me, it would kill my spirit.
Yeah, I get that. I can't even imagine. And I've never met an entrepreneur that hasn't had a windy road. I've never met a single person who's, it's been an uphill, a downhill, whatever. It's been super.
Yes. Right. Because it has not, but it's been rewarding.
Yeah. And I think that's part of the thing about being an entrepreneur, is that it's so rewarding, because you're doing the thing that you're here to do.
Exactly. And for me, helping women, and which I know is my tribe, around healing from domestic violence, and knowing that there is life after this, knowing that you have a purpose, and using my life and my story to help them see their own purpose. and to find that purpose and passion so that they can grow in their own life and business is what I love to do.
Yeah.
That's what I love to do. And that's what but I had to see it in my own life first.
Right.
And every day I'm evolving. Every day I see something different in me because this is a lifelong journey.
Yeah. That's the fun part.
Yeah. Yes.
Like, oh,
Oh
that's
yeah.
cool. I didn't know that yesterday. And now look at me.
Right. I love that. I do love that. So yeah, it's been an amazing journey, but it's also been amazing to help other women grow, but also to discover that they have books in them that are yet to be written, or business in them that they should start, or even if they have a business and they're stuck somewhere, that I can come along and help them become unstuck and move forward, because I was there too. And I was unclear about what to do and where to go. But every day I take time to get quiet and listen about my own, because I still make mistakes. Mm-hmm. And it's like, oh, why did I do that? And now I gotta, but I learned a lesson from it. So I say sometimes when a mistake happens, not sometimes, all the time, it comes to teach us a lesson. Definitely. So I've learned to not look at it as a bad thing, but as this was something I drew to me, and this is a lesson I have to learn. So
how did you make the shift to start coaching?
Because I was already doing it, right, and didn't even know what coaching was.
Yeah.
When people come to me and have a challenge or something, I just start talking, start asking questions. And then one day I was Googling something, I think for my website, because when I first started, I created my own website, because, when you're an entrepreneur,
you do it all.
You got to do it right. You do it all. And I was like, oh, what's coaching? And I just looked it up, and I'm going, I do that. And I've been doing that. And I'm going, oh, that's what they call it. That's exactly what I said. That's what they call it. And so I'm going, well, if I'm going to do this, I might as well go ahead and get some practical training in it. Although, again, at the shelter, they sent me to so much training, speaker training, how to create workshop trainings, how to communicate to people. Like, I went to a lot of training. So to be quite honest, I've sort of been trained already, but I wanted to understand how coaching really, really worked. And so, yes, I'm like, I'm already doing this. And so I'm like, it was a natural, I think, progression for me, because it just came natural. And I went ahead and I just decided this is what I'm going to do. And because I knew my tribe already, which was funny, because they say you have to know who your target audience is, which is the same thing when you're a nonprofit owner or somebody who wants to help service your community. Funders want to know, who are your target audience? That's the same. So for me, it was like, oh, this all ties together in terms of how I work. I saw, for the nonprofit side and the coaching side, I saw how the two connected in terms of target audience and knowing how to service your community and all those other things. So it just became natural for me.
What's been like one of your favorite coaching moments?
Wow. I think one of my favorite coaching moments. Wow, that's a good question. Wow, Kendra.
I'm going to ask you the same thing about your speaking moments too.
I think when in the midst of, so one of my clients, I was speaking to her, that she was wanting to write a book, and she asked me for help to get unstuck with writing, her book. And she got to a place and she couldn't figure out why she was stuck there. And I just started asking questions, because I'm always listening to what you're not saying. Like, that's just my ability to pull things out of people, is to, okay, you're telling me all of this, but what aren't you really telling me?
Right.
And so, because I'm so in tune spiritually, I began to ask her questions around things that she didn't want to touch on. And she got really quiet and asked me, how did I know that? who had I been talking to? And I said, God. I
Yeah.
mean, literally is what I said. And she just started crying because something broke in her. And she said, you know, that is why I'm stuck, because I didn't want to go there. And honestly, she had pushed it way down and she didn't realize it was still an issue for her. And we talked for a while. And once that dam broke for her, she was able to really continue with her writing, because she, we bury things deep down.
Yeah.
And we way down. And sometimes it does take somebody to help you, because it has happened for me. And she was really appreciative. And for me, I recognize that, wow, this is truly what you were meant to do, to really help people and to impact their lives.
Yeah.
Because where she was stuck was an area for me a long time ago, where I was stuck. So I was able to help her get there and just share a little snippet, of how I could relate to where she was, in my own life. And it really helped her. So that was really an aha for me, but a major aha for her.
Yeah.
And we both on the phone.
Amazing.
And I didn't want to cry, but people say you shouldn't cry. I was like, you know what?
Oh, hell no, cry.
Right. That's exactly what I'm gonna do what I want to do.
Yeah.
Because one of my superpowers is sensitivity. That's one of my superpowers. My sensitive side, well, it's not even a side, I'm just sensitive, period, has been my greatest, my greatest area of strength in my life, and sometimes my greatest weakness as well. But I shed tears with her because it was like she broke free for something that she really had stuffed down and didn't realize that was blocking her. So it was just an amazing moment for me and for her.
That's incredible. Have you had a highlight speaking engagement that really made you feel like, oh, this is amazing. I've really been able to make an impact?
Yes. So I was asked to come and speak to, it was an audience around business and helping them to grow in their business and talk about how your business can grow. Well, my mantra is hashtag it's an inside job. Obviously, the woman within is the inside. That is my hashtag. It's an inside job. And so everything from me, I believe, is already on the inside. If your business is not growing, there's something on the inside of you that is keeping that business from growing. It's something that is stomping. So I remember being in this audience and I'm talking and I had all these notes and everything. And I put the notes down and never went back to the notes, because all of a sudden I just started talking, because I was going to talk about how your business should grow. I started talking about all the things that keep us from growing personally and professionally, because how you do one thing is how you do everything. And the audience was just like, I could tell they were glued to me.
Yeah.
And I was sharing from my own experience and how my own growth was stumped. And when it was over, it was like I got this standing ovation, and I was just like, you had this out-of-body experience going, well, what did I say to get that?
Yeah.
That's how I'm like, well, what did I say? Yeah, it was simply amazing. And I was just like, wow, I put the notes down. And when I went back, somebody videotaped it for me. When I went back to actually look at it and I looked at my notes, I said nothing that was on that paper. Not one thing. Yeah. And so I believe that in that moment, that sometimes in the midst of what you think you're going to speak about, Spirit, God, whomever you subscribe to is going to switch it. And you just have to yield and be open to whatever is going to come out of your mouth, because that means that is what is needed for that audience at that time.
What did you mean by the way you do one thing is the way you do everything? Could you elaborate on that?
So I always say my professional and my personal are not separate. They are one. Mm-hmm. And if I am struggling at home, if home life is jacked up, if my personal finances are jacked up, guess what? Mm-hmm. So is my professional. Because whatever you emit out, you're emitting it out everywhere. And so I had to take a look at that in my own life. Like, why was my business stuck? How come I would stop, start, get somewhere, and then I couldn't push past that? Not even a ceiling. I just couldn't push past the wall or whatever. And it wasn't even a brick wall. I just couldn't get past it. And looking at my finances in my business compared to my personal, nothing was going right. And I just realized the two are tied together. And if I don't work on me, then nothing is going to be right. So I had to heal some areas in my life so that I can do better in my professional life. So to me, how you do one thing, so if your checkbook, your personal checkbook or your bank account is always overdrawn, let's just say, in your personal life, 9 times out of 10, you're probably there in your professional life too.
Right, right. Yeah, I could see that. If your relationships are, not ideal in one place, they're probably also not ideal on your client side too.
Right, because or if you're someone who has a brick and mortar and you have employees, you're coming in, the way that you are personally treating your own self is how you're going to go in and treat those employees.
Yeah.
If your relationship with you yourself is not good, it won't be good with other people. And even if you try to pretend that it is, you're going to fail at it. Somewhere along the way, you're going to fall.
Right, because you're kind of faking it.
Yes.
Right.
So that's why I said how you do one thing is how you do everything.
I love that. So I know that you have a 25-minute consultation for anyone that wants to work with you. And if you want to say your website, but we're also going to have all your links in the show notes and on your unicorn page. But your website is Sandra Chaney as well. .com?
Yes, .com. Exactly. Yes, and I'm offering a 25-minute, consultation for anybody that, if it's you're stuck in business or you have a nonprofit, so it's business period or personal, whatever that is that you need assistance, and help with, I'm here. And I always like to do the free consultation because I think that you need to see who I am and I need to see who you are, and we need to see if we're fit. Because just because you're a client who's willing to pay, really doesn't mean that you're a fit. And I'm not one to just be taking a client just to be taking a client. It's not how I work and operate. It has to be in alignment. It has to feel right.
Yeah, no, that makes so much sense. So just as a final thing, what are like a couple words of advice that you can give to somebody who is ready to move forward, but doesn't really know which direction to turn or how to start?
I would say take some time to just get quiet, literally, and just listen to the inner voice because it's already there. Everything we need. I would like to say we came prepackaged. We did.
All there.
We already know our spiritual self, because we are spirit beings having a human experience. And our spirit self already knows. And so just get quiet and tap in.
Yeah.
And guess what? Even if you pick something and, it didn't work out, at least you started. Some people don't even move. I tried many different things, to be honest, before I realized what it is that my spirit said I was called to do. So get quiet and figure out, from within side of you, what it is that I love to do. What brings you joy?
Yeah.
What is it that thing that brings you joy? Because you already know what it is. And even if to somebody else, and I know why other people don't, it's because somebody has said to them, oh, that's ridiculous. That's not going to work. Yeah. Ignore the committee, the outside committee, and the committee in your head. Ignore them. Because my question to you to ask them is, well, what are you doing? And so ignore them, get quiet, and write down what you hear, write down what you feel. And whatever that is, just go and do it. Do it afraid, but go and do it anyhow. Because all you can do is fail forward. Because if you fall forward, you're going to learn the lesson, dust yourself off, and do it again anyway. Just keep moving. Just put one foot in front of the other, because the victory line is in front of you. And trust, you will get there, because I am a true witness to myself.
Oh, Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story. You know, like you said, sharing your story brings power to other people who can't see the light through the tunnel. So I really appreciate you being on the show today.
Thank you for having me. I had a lot of fun.
Oh. I just wanted to thank Sandra Chaney for coming on the show and sharing her beautiful story. I know she's shared it with a large audience before, and it's been her life's mission to use her story to inspire, and she certainly did that for me today. I feel just like I could achieve anything, and we can. And that's why I am focusing this season on people that take the initiative to follow that calling inside of them and have the faith that they will be able to work it out, that everything falls into place when you're really following your heart's calling and your true soul's calling. You can connect with Sandra on her unicorn page, or you can go to sandrachaney.com and connect with her there and get her 25-minute free consultation to find out if she can help you move your life in the right direction. Come on back next Sunday. We have new content, new stories, new inspiration, new unicorns every Sunday. And would you please let me know on social media? Come find me on Instagram. What did you get out of this episode? I want to hear if you had any aha moments, if this changed your day somehow. Let me know. I'll talk to you guys next week.